This is Ash Costello from New Year's Day, and you're watching the Creative Spotlight.
Well, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to meet with me here today. So I'm the owner of the Creative Spotlight, which is my blog. I kind of tell good stories and bring the story to life of a lot of up-and-coming bands that are already established, and looking, forward to this interview as well. Again, I have about 12 questions in terms of, what age did you realize that you wanted to actually be a musician, and was there a first instrument that you learned how to play?
I actually knew I wanted to be a singer at a really, really young age, like 4 or 5. I started doing musical theater when I was really young, really, really young. And, but I didn't know what that meant being in a band until high school, when I kind of joined a band by accident. My high school ska band needed a singer and saw me singing in a high school play and asked if I'd want to sing a ska band, and that's how I started doing that and just never quit. That's
great. And was there a first instrument that you played, bass, guitar, anything like that?
No, not really, but I started writing my first songs when I was probably around 10 or 11 years old, but I never really played any instruments. I was always lyricist and songwriter, though.
That's great. Well, again, the vocal is definitely one of the key instruments in the band as well. So would there be anyone from a musical artist and or band perspective, and I've seen some of your other interviews, so I think I may know who you'd be going with on this one, but were there any early influences that kind of determine what musical style and genre that you would be in, and if so, who were they?
Well, I've been doing music, writing music, and a fan of music from a very young age. So, like most people, it ebbs and flows, different phases of our lives. As we mature and grow older, our tastes change. But early on, I was really influenced by Gwen Stefani and No Doubt. That was like my major first introduction to what being a female rock vocalist could be like.
That's who I thought you would pick, because I saw another interview. It was funny when you mentioned that you were in your car with your mother and that new release had come out from No Doubt, and you're like, turn it off, I don't even want to hear this anymore. And then later on, you actually turned around and that became one of your favorites. So it's interesting how she changed her sound. And I know even New Year's Day has kind of changed its sound from the original to where you are now, and just gotten and evolved to be even better all the way through.
I do remember that moment, and I hold on to that moment a lot, because I think about what I was like as a fan towards my favorite bands, and how a change in sound can be really scary, but it takes a little bit for people to start to understand it. So I always feel really easy on the listeners if fans are kind of jarred by a new sound.
Yeah, there's a few that I've had with that too, and I've been involved in music. I started off in high school to college and doing radio, and I've kind of been promoting the hard rock sounds ever since the 80s. On the shows that I've had in college and then even thereafter. So I'm definitely all with you on that, where some bands, the sound gets really different, they're experimenting, and then it evolves into something that you really like even down the road.
Yeah.
For the benefit of all of my listeners and or readers, as both in the Creative Spotlight and for Music Player Magazine, and may not necessarily be familiar with you or the band, how did you start out in Anaheim, California, and eventually then ended up as the lead singer for New Year's Day? How did that kind of evolve?
Well, I've lived in a couple bands before New Year's Day's beginning. I just, when one band or one sound kind of, was sort of looking for, kind of run its course, we started another band. And so I was in a previous band called Face the Fact, which was like total 80s new wave. And A&R representative from Chrysalis Music Group, who had like Susie and the Banshees and Smashing Pumpkins and Alkaline Trio and a lot of my favorite bands at the time, happened to be at one of my shows and asked to take a meeting with me almost immediately. And I got signed pretty quickly as a solo artist. And,
oh, wow.
I wrote a couple songs with songwriters, some of them being Pete Wentz and Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy, and Justin from Ocean City Soundtrack, and Adam from Taking Back Sunday. And it was kind of this experiment of what if, we did a girl solo artist, but her songs were written by more prominent rock artists at the time. And so I played by the rules. I did what they wanted for, a couple tries, and then I wrote my own music and kind of slammed it on the desk and said, what if it was a band? And I turned in our first song called Ready to Misfire, and after they listened to it, they said, you know what, do whatever you want, go get band members, make it a rock band, and pick a name. So that's how New Year's Day got started.
Oh, wow. Great background.
That's the long version.
That's great. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, one key thing for me is when I was actually I was in a hair salon, and for some reason your video came on of how you actually convert yourself from Ash off stage to Ash on stage. And I know the makeup one. So it was kind of interesting how it all evolved. And that's actually what really got me to want to interview, besides just knowing how much I really like the band and its music. But I'm like, it's kind of interesting how you see the personality of someone kind of evolve from on and off stage. So the question kind of reads in the terms of how would you describe your on stage personality, and how is it both similar and different from your off stage personality or persona?
Well, I think if you're a genuine artist, then you're good at pulling elements of who you are and putting it on stage, even if it's in very subtle ways. It doesn't have to be very obvious. And I'm a big horror movie fan, and I'm a big Halloween fan, and a big haunted house fan, and a big fan of golf and alternative subcultures. And it just bleeds naturally into the art. And how I dress on stage or how the whole band dresses on stage it works with New Year's Day because it isn't contrived. It's very genuine. It's very natural. And a lot of questions the boys get in my band is like, so was it tough when Ashley made you guys wear makeup? And that's all those guys. That's all them. They do their own makeup. That's what they want to do. I've actually tried to stop them from wearing the makeup. It's not what they want to do. And I think that's why New Year's Day really stands out above a lot of other bands of our genre, or maybe other female-fronted bands, because it's very, very natural and very genuine.
Talking about your songwriting style, how would you describe that? As I've heard that it's kind of evolved for you, and you've tried to go more in different areas to try to expand the sound, as we were just talking about with No Doubt and all. But how would you describe your overall songwriting style?
Gosh, I have a love-hate relationship with songwriting. I truly love writing music and writing lyrics. I really do. But I'm also, like most artists, I'm my own worst critic, and I'm very self-deprecating, and I'm very hard on myself. So the final product you hear took a lot of time and effort and pain and a lot of good moments and a lot of bad moments to get to that point where it's even listenable, and I feel good about even releasing it out into the world for everyone else to hear. So my style of songwriting is just a lot of trial and error and a lot of time. When I'm in songwriting mode, I'm songwriting 7 to 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the last record, I spent about a year on and off doing that between touring, and it's all I did. So I think just banging my head against the wall a lot is my major songwriting style. If that makes sense.
In terms of the songwriting itself, one of my favorite songs that's from Unbreakable is Come For Me. So could you give a little bit of background on how that actually became one of your singles, and then maybe describe a little bit of the video as well?
Okay. Come For Me, I'm actually really proud of, because out of every New Year's Day song that's ever been put out, that one was the most to me. I had the most say in it, because it wasn't, I don't want to say it was meant to be a joke. We were just playing around, not in a joking way. We just weren't really thinking about trying to make it anything specific. We were just having fun. And my major influence for that song was the song Hella Good by No Doubt, which is one repeated riff throughout the entire song. So I thought, why doesn't New Year's Day have a song where it's one riff that just repeats the whole time, but maybe the dynamic shifts from verse to chorus to intro to re-intro? So we made our own version of that, which is the initial riff you hear is the first song. And I just wanted it to be like a fun, heavy dance song, like Hella Good. So that song, Come For Me, was born. And then the music video was, I love making music videos because I get to play director and producer. And I'm a big movie fan. I'm a big cinephile. So I wanted to be Quentin Tarantino for a day. And so the music video is a nod to From Dusk Till Dawn, Pulp Fiction, Planet Terror, all the Grindhouse movies, stuff like that.
That's awesome.
I know that Quentin Tarantino only directed some of the influence and produced others, but still anything Quentin Tarantino was related in, I wanted to draw influence from that. And the character I played in the music video was heavily based off of Selma Hayek from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, wow. All right, good. Yeah, there's some good questions, too, because I'm actually learning a little bit about the background, and I think all the folks that are going to be reading both the Creative Spotlight and the Music Player magazine and know who you are or want to learn more about you, this is going to be awesome. That's really good.
Thank you.
How about in terms of that first time you were ever on stage, and you said you got started really young, and then how was that experience now? Is there anything similar? Is there anything different? Like, how was it that first time compared to the last time you were on?
There's really not a big difference, actually. I still get really nervous, and I still kind of don't know what I'm doing. Every time I get on stage, you just kind of hope for the best, and I still get nervous. So there's really not a big difference, except I have learned some. I feel like I've learned how to play with the audience and connect with the audience more as I've gone along, but it's still pretty much the same.
Yeah, and you learn from each of those experiences and take it to the next one. A lot of the singers that I've interviewed, too, they just really like being on stage. They like being in that spotlight. They like performing, and that kind of brings out that inner personality that they may not have when they're in other social settings, too. I don't know if that happens for you.
It's really different every time. Sometimes I love being on stage, but just like someone who loves what they do, they're going to have their bad days too. And there's some days where I walk off stage and I was like, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I walk off stage and I was like, that was the best moment of my life. So it's like everything else. You just try to do your best.
Exactly. I'm going to go a little quicker now because I know you're short on time, but if you could tell us a little bit more about your experience. We're working with Chris Motionless of Motionless in White on that track. I've watched some of the behind the scenes as well as the video as well, obviously for Angel Eyes. Can you tell us how that kind of came about?
Yeah. So I met Motionless in White when we were on Warped Tour together with them. We played the same stage in 2010, and we were the only two bands that looked goth, so we, became quick friends. And Angel Eyes, it was kind of a no-brainer. We wanted a guy vocal, and all I did was ask Chris to do it, and he said, yeah, and that was it, And then about a year later, I actually dreamt the concept of the music video, and I said, would you be willing to fly out here and do this crazy idea with me? And history was made. It still made such an impact on the scene, the Warped Tour scene, and the rock music scene at the time that still to this day, I mean, I see something about Angel Eyes every single day, every day of my life. And it's still our most popular music video and our most requested song, and I think our most streamed song still. It's wild. I mean, who knew at the time? No one knew that we were making something like epic. I think we were just trying to make something cool that we like.
Exactly. And like you said, you can kind of be that director in these videos as well. So you can kind of, play off that imagination of what it will appear in video to then set the sound to the video. And then people can relate to it in a different way than just hearing it or seeing it. And this time it's both. So very cool. How about in terms of the song Shut Up from Unbreakable? How about that one in terms of how it came together, the music video? That'll kind of be the last song reference that I have in here, and then 3 quick questions.
Oh, okay. So Shut Up was a songwriting team effort between Christy Costanza from the band Against the Current, Scott Stevens, who's produced Shine Down and Hailstorm and In This Moment, a lot of our favorite rock bands, and myself. And the original version didn't sound rock at all. As you can tell, it's very poppy vocals. I'm heavily influenced vocally by an artist called Kehlani, and I played some Kehlani songs for the producer in the studio, and that's when he gave me Shut Up. And the song happened within a day, which is very different as opposed to a song like Come For Me that took a year to write. This song happened very easily, and we just knew we had something very special. As far as the music video, I just get these ideas in my head. There's really no rhyme or reason. I just knew as soon as they said you need a music video for the song, I knew I wanted to remake American Psycho.
Yeah, and again, you're bringing a lot of these things that you like, into your videos, which is really cool.
Thank you.
In terms of opening up for so many different bands through the years, is there any one strange experience that you kind of remember, and maybe what you learned from that experience in touring?
Someday I'm going to write a book because there's far more than one strange experience. I literally could write a book, but the first thing that comes to my mind is when Marilyn Manson held my hand and walked me around stage while he sang Dope Show. That was very interesting. I happened to be wearing a shirt that said Marilyn Manson is my daddy, and he changed the words to I'm not your daddy as he sang to me around the stage.
Oh, wow.
For wrapping 3 minutes of my life.
Very cool.
Yeah, you never really know what you're going to get with Manson. He might be in a really good mood, and he might be in a really standoffish mood. So you kind of get a little nervous around him.
So that was definitely a good night then.
It was a good night. And then unfortunately, after that happened, I felt like I finally broke through and kind of bonded with him. And then the Paris shooting attack at the Bataclan in Paris happened, and all tours were canceled. We were sent home the next day because we were slated to play Paris the next day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so who knows? Something else could have happened that would have been historical or kind of changing your mind about something else, and then now immediately canceled. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. If you weren't in the music industry, what could you see yourself doing?
I would probably be doing something Halloween related, like haunted houses or set decoration for horror movies, maybe something with special effects in some way.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm into the Halloween as well. My house is always the best in the neighborhood. All the kids come up, oh my God, wow. I have eyeballs and trees, other, graves and things like that. I'm all kind of into that stuff. So you and I would definitely relate and be able to hang out together for Halloween and thereafter for sure.
That sounds like our house.
Ah, that's so cool. Maybe at some point we'll exchange some photos of the houses and kind of see how they kind of go. Yours is probably a little bit more extravagant than mine, but within the neighborhood I live in, it's actually pretty cool.
Awesome. I love that.
So last question, in terms of short and long time future goals for both yourself and the band, amid all this pandemic and things, what do you actually see happening 6 months, maybe a year from now, if you can even see that based on what's going on now?
Oh, gosh, I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll just get back to our usual rise and grind, just touring and playing shows and making music videos and writing new music. I'm supposed to start writing new music next month for the next record, so it'll probably be a lot of that.
When will the new record be out? Or
gosh, we haven't even started writing it yet, so who's to say right now?
Yeah. How about and again, that was the last question, but just kind of off the cuff, like in terms of all of the artists that you see now kind of coming together and doing all of these, hey, I'm broadcasting from my living room or my studio. Have you and the band done any of that? Or you yourself, or any thoughts of doing something like that?
Well, after this last tour, everyone went home to their separate states, so everyone's spread out. I would like to do some live Instagram shows, but I've had a lot of family stuff going on this past month and a lot of moving around. So I haven't had any time to do anything like that, but maybe if I can find some downtime.
That would be pretty cool. Well, Ash, I don't want to keep you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and have a really good day.
You too. Thanks again, and look forward to hearing more from New Year's Day as the years progress. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.